I'm an idiot.
Are we live? We're live.
We are live.
Gosh, I'm trying to.
We're on my page,
live?
I think.
Okay.
I think on my page.
Let me see. Okay, let me see if I got the notification. I'm trying to thumb through our text. Yeah, we're live. I got it. I'm trying to. Okay, we're live. I can't. All right, I'm trying to thumb through. I can't listen. I can't watch it on my computer because I get the noise. But I'm trying to. I got a joke in here. I'm trying to thumb through our text to see what we were going to talk about. But you sent me so many naked pictures. I just.
I know it's. I mean, you know, if you'd stop requesting them. Well, it would be.
Thank God for Snapchat.
You know how much I get done during the day? That's right. They just disappear. So yeah, hey, we're live. This is Kevin Davis.
This is Jimbo Balaam, and I'm not good at that. Let me see if I can. I'm not good at that. Sorry. Let me. Okay, you tagged me in the post.
I need to do this. I point at you. That's your cue to say your name.
Okay, so let me see. Let me share. There we go. Now I'm going to share it on my page. Cool. So now I got it on my phone, Kevin. So
all right, cool. Yeah, I'm sort of on mine too. Like I told Jimbo, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and I've like the worst internet connection in the world. It requires horses to go back and forth between my house and the tower. So I'm not in California.
all I have to worry about is my garage door opening and shutting.
And your son coming out to interrupt your video.
It's over. Once my kid gets involved, it's over. So there's just no. It's over. So
my wife wants to know whose hair is better. I think yours.
You know what? And I'm kind of having a bad hair day. And but it looks pretty good in this afternoon light. So
yeah, that's right.
What's up, Julio? I see you.
Chris West is here. Alex from Alaska, who probably has less snow than I have right now.
Let me see if I can. Oh, perfect! I turned down the sound so I could watch it on my computer. Can I edit this to say something? I can. Okay.
So Jimbo, on your screen, we're getting all the live comments that are showing up on Facebook. They just or you saying you don't see that.
I am. I actually have the Facebook Live going on my phone and on my computer, so I can thumb through and see everyone. Grant Hotry's here. Chris is here. Zach's here. Hey, if you guys are watching, one thing I like to do is let us know. Just type in the comments where you're watching from. And why not your company name so we can give you a shout out?
Yeah, there you go. Cool. So you want to just go ahead?
I was just going to dive right into it, Kevin. Now that we got this technical thing figured out, which was really a stupid little glitch that we could have figured out 2 weeks ago. But hey, two tech guys can't figure it out.
That's all right. Yeah, we're really inept, basically. Yeah. The secret is out. This is why we don't do live, because people will figure out that we don't have any idea what we're doing.
Well, I've been telling people that's my secret for a long time.
But you just pretend like you do.
I do. I just fake it till I make it, baby. Grant's with Final Touch. David is in Huntington Beach Solution Finish. You work with Chris? Okay, cool. Chris keeps telling us that we look great, so not to worry. Chris, I can always count on you when I'm feeling down. Alex Dublin is in the North Pole. Torque Performance. And Kevin, he wants you to know that they only have 3 feet of snow.
Oh, good. Well, that's awesome.
Is Kenneth your neighbor, Kevin?
Evidently, he's my stalker. So that's hilarious.
Cool. So let's get into it. You wanted to, well, not you, but we were going to talk about, and yes, I'm guzzling coffee at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Nice.
But you know what? I'm going to go over here because then you're live and I'm not watching the delay. What are we talking about today? Nothing. We're just going to sit here and look pretty.
Well, one of us. I'll let you decide who it is.
Yeah, Randy.
No, we're going to talk about Go ahead. We're going to talk about ego in the detailing industry and how it's making detailers go broke or not make any money.
I just had a great conversation that I recorded yesterday with Kevin Awalt. Yeah, I want to say that in 2 syllables, but I'm pretty sure it's 1. And his episode's going to go live on Monday, so I don't want to give too much away for that because it's a really great episode. But we talked a little bit about ego and how it's just so destructive. And so, yeah, it was kind of timely that you brought this up as well, Kevin, because the ego is so rampant in the detailing industry, and it's also so frustrating, that guys let their ego get in the way of not only making money, but severing relationships with people that don't even pay their bills or matter.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking really about 2 things, right? Like we have the Facebook ego, which is the keyboard warriors kind of thing. I mean, that's a whole other issue. We've talked about that before, but, and then we're talking about allowing your own personal ego to drive the way you run your business, right? That's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. So like in that vein, mm-hmm. Well, I mean, obviously everybody knows about ego on Facebook, right? Everybody thinks they're the best. They post, and I think I've said this before, the one Ferrari they did 5 years ago, and then they keep reposting it, in every opportunity they get. But, and that's what affects relationships. That affects our industry in a very negative way all the time. If you spend much time on Facebook at all and you haven't unfollowed everyone yet, it's just it's a lot of hate in our industry actually, and it seems to be getting worse.
Why do you think that? Because this is something that I've been playing with. Maybe it's every industry, and it's just because we're in this industry that we realize it more. But why is there so much ego in this industry? Is it because it's 95% male, and that's just what guys do?
Could be. That's testosterone poisoning, in other words.
Yeah, hashtag that. Could be that, but I've been trying to think like why do guys, or maybe because detailing is such a passion play that every time someone says something negative about someone else's work, it like they take it as personal.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, I've tried. I mean, yeah, it's, I have different experiences with different industries, fitness industry being one of them, which is obviously, especially when you get into competition and all that. I mean, it's completely the most self-centered industry in the world. I mean, obviously. But as far as detailers go, it may have something to do with the fact that most of the time detailers are working by themselves. I mean, probably a majority of who they are. And so there's no real interaction, and especially they tend to get most of their interaction on forums and Facebook and that kind of thing. So maybe that is like we can get totally analytical or, psychological here, but there could be something to do with the fact they don't get a lot of positive feedback. So if your self-worth is tied into your social media, which I know mine is, then then that creates a little bit of a problem if you don't get what you expect.
But actually, I want to push back on that a little bit. Are they not getting a lot of positive feedback? Because for me in my own business, I get positive feedback all the time. Like, it brings the thought of instant gratification, to a whole new level because I can deliver for my client and they're out there drooling over it. So I get a lot of instant gratification and good feedback, Well,
I mean, I agree. That's from the customer standpoint, but it's I don't know if there's something where I worked in the corporate world for like 10 years. And so you have that daily, you have stupid corporate meetings, you have interaction with the people in the office next to you, cubicle next to you, whatever. So you're constantly getting that feedback. Okay. And so within our industry, as far as peer-to-peer type feedback, for most people, I think it's Facebook and social media in general is going to be their only source. So I don't know if that ties into it or not.
Could be. Could be. I want to ask everyone listening as well, to you guys listening can just type in your questions if you have any, and what we're probably going to do is jump back at the end of it and answer some of those questions. But if you have any thoughts or ideas or reasons why you think ego plays such a big role in our industry, just type your questions below. And Kevin, if you see any interesting ones that pop up, feel free to interrupt me. But
Zach pointed out something that you and I have talked a lot about, which is my whole Switzerland stance, right? Like we've talked a lot about trying to build everybody up in the industry and not necessarily pick on. I mean, we can pick on crap about anyone at any time if we really want to.
Right.
And so, Zach says, why can't we follow the rule that Mom taught us? If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Right. And that's something that I try to do. I'm not always great at it, but that seems to be an effective strategy, and it helps, just elevate the overall feel of the discussion. And
it probably helps you to sleep good at night when your heart rate's not like your heart's not pumping out of your chest because you're so worked up over a Facebook post.
Yeah.
Randy says, I
sure.
think ego comes from uninformed and being stubborn. Maybe. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well,
on that?
And that manifests really heavily in this is the very best of all time product. Doesn't matter what the product is, but I think that's pretty rampant. And that's that. And granted, we all as marketers, as business people or whatever, we want people to believe that our product is a great option, is the best option for them. I personally, that's not necessarily true. Like, I want everybody to have a detailer's helper tool belt, but if it doesn't work for your workflow, if it doesn't work for your business, then don't buy it. I'm not going to say that it's the absolute only, the only option out there. But I think so many in our industry are basically like, this is the best. And not only this is the best, but every other option is complete crap. Like that's like the caveat that so many people give.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's funny. I've been thinking about this lately, is that before I started the podcast, I wasn't involved at all with the online detailers community, like at all. I was maybe in one or two detailing groups, and then I just decided to start this podcast thing. So that opened me up to this whole online community of detailers. And the first thing I realized was that a lot of the stuff guys were talking about online didn't really apply to real world detailing, I thought. So maybe to that guy's point, a lot of it comes from people not being confident in their own shell. And so they're just lashing out at people. But I had another thought. Do you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk at all, Kevin?
I have, yep.
So a lot of the things he talks about, or one thing that he keeps kind of hammering home right now, is that he wants to build this tallest building in town, right? But his viewpoint is to build the tallest building in town, he doesn't need to like essentially crush all the other buildings, right? So
right. Yep.
I apply that to the detailing industry, and it kind of confuses me why people think that they need to belittle other people, so that in belittling other people, it's making them better. When in fact it's actually like, dude, you look stupid, like trying to belittle that other person instead of coming all together and building up the whole community. Because at the end of the day, don't we all
what do they say?
Thing?
Rising. Yeah,
all ships rise in a high tide.
Yeah. There you go. Right. Yeah. All, a rising tide lifts all ships, or whatever
that too. Right. So,
logical thing.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And I'll be honest, I've got into a couple heated arguments on Facebook, and then I look back at it now and almost like laugh, like, wow, that was like what? It's almost like trying to convince someone that they should vote for the other political party that you're opposed to through a Facebook post.
Yeah.
It's like who do you?
I make all my voting decisions based on random political posts on Facebook.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, Rolando says, I noticed on rainy days and during the winter, this is funny, the bashing increases on Facebook. Can we chalk it up as envy? It seems like those with slow weeks bash the busy companies. Anyone else notice that? That would make sense, and it would kind of play into the whole thing that we're kind of talking about of like, the guys that aren't confident, the guys that are slower, the guys that aren't hesitant to say as successful, but maybe don't have as full of a schedule. The ones that are insecure are the ones that are lashing out, and doing that.
Well, and they have more time, right? I mean, if you're on it, but at 10, 2, and 4, that was a Dr. Pepper thing back in the day. Anyway, tagline. Dude, I'm not that old. You suck. But like, if they're on all day long, right, then clearly their schedule is not as busy. Unless, these are people that are professional detailers. Obviously, I'm on all day long, but it's pretty much what I do all day. So,
well, because you're an internet guy.
Yeah, I'm an internet marketer, basically. That's what I do. So yeah, I think that makes sense. That if they have the time and if they're not as busy, then they're going to notice other people that are.
Kind of another hot button topic that you brought up in the text, but I've been thinking about it too a lot lately, is overspending for equipment.
Yep, buying every new possible thing.
Yeah, and I wish I could remember the quote that I heard the other day. It actually applied more to like day-to-day life, but basically what it was saying was, if you can it's actually harder to work with less than it is to work with more. So the less equipment you have and the less products you have, the more you're forced into make what you have work, versus have like every single product for every single possible situation that you could ever come across. Now, I think there's a balance in there, and I don't know how you feel about it, Kevin, but I try, in my personal detailing business, I try to have as minimal amount of equipment and chemicals as absolutely possible.
Yeah, that's just an efficiency thing. I mean, we were all guilty of it. It's like, oh, well, this polish might work better, but as it turns out, it doesn't, or whatever. But then you need to get rid of that stuff. I mean, whatever, basically, Tim Ferriss talks a lot about this minimum effective dose, right? Mm-hmm. And that applies to business and exercise and food and whatever. It's basically whatever the least amount of work required, or in this case, product or tools, to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, which is, I hope, be profitable, right? And so that's your tactic is exactly right, to where you want to minimize everything you have down to the point where everything I use has a specific purpose and it contributes to my bottom line, versus I just spent, $1,000 on new chemicals so I can try them out.
Chris says he has 5 days. Yes, all this pertains to, unless you're looking at buying a detailer's helper belt.
That's right.
And then you definitely.
Well, you should see Chris wear it. He's got like one over his beard and his neck and his chest. I mean, it's ridiculous how he wears it. But
pretty soon he's going to have to tuck his beard into his belt.
Yeah, that's my next new bag. So
to kind of wrap up the ego thing, I think Paul or Nicole Rhodes says it the best. I wish people could be happier when they see others doing well. I love seeing those around me doing well, and brings him joy or her joy. Isn't that how it should be? And I don't know. Look, we're not coming on here to try to solve any issues or problems or whatever, just a topic for discussion. But I just wish other people could be happy with other people's success.
Yeah, I mean, I think that applies in life. That applies no matter what you do, because that, I'm not a woo-woo guy, but there's a certain amount of energy that can come into your life, and what you give to other people makes a difference. And if all that energy is negative and you're just pissed all the time, which I admit, on a very cloudy, snowy day in the middle of what is February? I can be that way here, but
it's not. It's almost March, Kevin. Keep your head up.
That's right. That's right. Only 3 more months of winter for me. Thanks a lot for reminding me. But no, I totally agree. Like, that's just a life skill that I think if you look at the people that are very successful in our industry, for the most part, that's how they are. I mean, Mr. West is a great example. I mean, if you guys have an opportunity to talk to Chris West, and I'm just singling him out because he's here, but there's tons of guys like him, but he's always willing to help people. He's always positive. He never has a bad thing to say about anybody. I mean, that's just, he's a guy. Yeah, he's a good dude. And there are tons of people in our industry, but I think if you notice the most negative people that are more attack oriented versus the people that are more lift you up kind of oriented, I think you'll see the difference between their level of success, not only in business, but in life in general.
I've noticed the guys that are really on the attack, they fizzle out super quick. Here today, gone tomorrow, see you later. You know?
Yep.
Zach has a good question. He even thought so. He says, now I have a great question for you. So no ego in there, Zach. Just teasing.
Wow. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and demean our viewers. That's awesome. Yeah. Nice job.
Well, what do you feel determines success, and what is considered success to you guys? You want to go first, Kevin?
Stuff. And stuff makes you happy, right? That's
more stuff.
No, I mean, right. More stuff. No, I mean, I feel like I have lived my life or live my life right now. That
I know, Zach,
success
I'm teasing with you, bud.
Success is basically, the experiences that you have and the people that you have in your life. I mean, that's, and through this industry, I've developed tons of friendships that I ordinarily wouldn't have. Shoes. Yeah, that's right, Paul. But I mean, it's for me, success is basically building relationships and having experiences that you want to have. And, that doesn't, sometimes that requires some financial success, but most of the time it doesn't.
I think I consider success. I think there is no one definition for what success is or what successful means. For me personally, I consider I have a set of goals, right? I'm not sure what that means, Chris. I'm not going to repeat it just in case because of who mentioned it. But success is a happy wife. That is probably true, Kevin. I am extremely disappointed that you didn't start with that. Thank you, Michelle.
She's in the next room, so she's going to come in here and beat me afterwards, probably.
Yeah, well, we'll leave that one on the table. Anyway, but success to me would be at least for me personally, I have a whole overview, 30,000 foot view of what I want my life to look like and be and accomplish in my life. And so success to me is how close to that I'm getting, right? And then, but that target is always moving as well, right? So for example, in high school, I knew that I wanted to be a small business owner, right? That was what I wanted. To me, success would be to own my own business, right? And then at 19, when you're out of high school, I started my own business. So then that was success for me at that time, right? And then the goal moves a little bit. And then as I started having kids and a wife and all that and house, it gets bigger. So that goal is always moving. And now that I'm married and a little bit more established, I have bigger goals that I want to accomplish. And then by this age, I want to have this so that I don't have to be on my hands and knees scrubbing a wheel. Know what I mean?
By the time you're old like me, is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah. I mean, it's geez, by the time
you got 25 years until then, you're good to go.
I was getting my hair cut the other day. This will make you happy. And it really pissed me off. I was getting my hair cut a couple weeks ago, and my friend cuts my hair. Thanks, Greg. His name's Greg, and he goes, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I found a gray hair," and I'm like, I was like, dude, that's not cool. Like, you're making it. He was all excited that he spotted a gray hair. I'm like, that's not cool.
Nice.
So
well, just there's a reason I'm clean shaven and I keep my hair short because that keeps me looking, a little bit younger. And Botox injections and all that helps too. But so hey, Botox. did you? So yeah, I think that. I think that answers the success question for sure. It's definitely a moving target, but I think if your level of success is based on how much money you have, you're totally screwed because you will literally never have enough. And I think other people say that too, but there's still so many people that are very focused on financial success as their success. And I mean, even in business, obviously that's an easy to measure metric, right? In our businesses, but even in businesses, I think that's the wrong approach in terms of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think I think to have a monetary goal is not a bad idea, but I think to, like you said, measure success. Oh, look at that. Michelle just said Kevin does get Botox. Wow.
I think she said not, but that's okay.
I can't read.
Yeah, you can tell. See all this? That's how you know, because I can actually move my eyebrows. That's how you know I don't have Botox.
It's like me and Kevin talked about the cheeseburger theory, and it's like you got a cheeseburger on your forehead.
Nice.
That was a bad joke.
Anyway, you said goal. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got to have financial goals for your business.
But to have that be a measure of success, because if you think about a monetary goal, say $100,000 a year is your definition of success. Well, what happens in 10 years when $100,000 a year is like $50,000 a year? So then to your point that it's not really, it's attainable, but then I don't know. I think it's a dangerous.
Well, it's a moving target for sure. And I mean, obviously lifestyle has something to do with it, but for someone, $100,000 a year might be great. But if you live in, San Francisco, $100,000 a year is not going to get you very far. But anyway, I mean, and I know you're just using that as an example, but yeah, definitely that definitely makes sense. So did you want to talk about David Polly actually had a question way back that said he was asking about how ego. Let me see if I can scroll up. What'd you say, David? At what point does ego get in your own way? Being competitive and tooting your own horn is one thing, but where do you guys think the line is? This is sort of what we were talking about before. And I don't know if you want to talk about that. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, the line is somewhere in the middle, but we talked about that. The ego will drive you to make business decisions that aren't in the best interest of your bottom line. For example, and you guys have seen this all over Facebook, I'm sure, and forums and everything else, but you see guys post that, and it's sort of this post, which is the customer wanted my level 2 detail, which is a 1-step polish, but my standards are higher than that. So I did a 3-step and I just finished after 6 days of straight polishing. Mm-hmm. And so you take a guy that just got paid $200 for a 1-step or whatever he charges, and now he's upside down in labor by $2,000. And I think that's a big problem from what I see.
Yeah, it's just, and I think this goes into one thing that I'm really fascinated with right now, and it's really understanding like key terms that my customers throw out while I'm doing a vehicle evaluation or just talking to them. Because what does everyone do? Every customer calls and goes, well, how much for a detail? And it's like, well, geez, guys, like, could you give me a little bit more? So instead, I see some guys take offense to that. Like, what is this person doing calling me, asking me how much? What do they mean, how much for a detail? And it's like, okay, relax. You are in business. Okay. Like, so what I've tried to do is like ask certain questions that the customers actually have really started to like, because no one's ever asked them it before. Like, hey, I don't know, what year is your car? Here's one of my favorite questions. When's the last time your car's been detailed? Right? I love that one. And the customers love it too, because for me, it helps me gauge if they say, well, it's never been detailed and it's a 2002. It's like, oh crap. Okay. It's probably going to be pretty rough. Right. Or if they say, oh, I get it detailed every 6 months. My next question is, well, why don't you go back to the guy that did it last time? Or what did the last company do to your car? So, they shampooed the mats, they waxed it, and they won't have an exact idea, but a ballpark idea of what they had done. So then you can guess that that's similar to what they are looking to get again, right? Because they said, they got the mat shampoo, they clay barred it, they waxed it, maybe they did a 2-step polish on it, maybe they did a coating, whatever. And then it's like, okay, cool. And that, as the detailer, you could start strategizing what that car is going to need, but also the customer knows what they want. It's helping you formulate a package. You know what just got done. And then, I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought with these comments coming in, but does that make sense? Like asking certain key questions to your customer to help learn what their needs are and their wants are in a detail, and then formulating a package around that versus saying, I'm the detailer, I know best. My customers are blind when it comes to looking at their car. They want a, full correction, full interior. Oh, they only want to pay $150. Like, I'll do it anyway.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's because the idea is, again, that minimum effective dose that we talked about. Like, how can I meet their expectations at a price that makes sense both to me and to the customer, and do that, not 5 hours more than that, and so that they'll be extra happy, which 98% of them won't be any happier than they would have been if you had not spent the extra 5 hours.
Exactly. And Zach, Jason's good point. Perfect or nothing doesn't feed the family. Love that one. And then Zach has a good point of a question to ask the customers. How are they going to maintain it? How are they going to maintain the car after you're done? He says, why put all the work when they only wanted a one step? They're just going to be maintaining it the way they used to. You wasted time and money. That's another thing. Full corrections, if you do that, awesome, good for you. But if the customer next week is going to go to the local car wash and run it through and let them do their thing at the car wash, I mean,
it's a waste of time.
And you could, I say that to my customer of like, why are you going to, perfect example. I got this older guy, he's got a brand new Audi and it's black, metallic black, and has some really light spider webbing in it, right? Not swirls, spider webbing. And he goes, my son was pointing out, this stuff in the paint and blah, 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 blah. And so I got the car in the sun and I said, is this what you're talking about? And he said, what are you pointing to? I said, can you see what's going on in the paint? He goes, no. I said, okay, then here's what we could do. I could charge you $500 to remove something that you can't even see that will come back, or we could just leave it and I'll keep doing what I've been doing and making your car shiny and the tires shiny and the glass clean and you're happy. Which one would you like? He goes, well, why would I do that? And I'm like, well, exactly.
And then your next statement is, and do not let your son polish this car.
Yes.
Because he'd be like, yeah, Dad, I can get those out for you.
Luckily, his son works for, right. Don't let your son do it. But the point was that, ask questions, because asking questions to your customer is going to help you be more successful as a detailer as well and be more profitable.
Right. If you don't know the expectations, you don't know what they're, because either they have very unrealistic expectations and you can manage that, or they have perfectly reasonable expectations and are willing to pay for that level of expectation.
Here's Jason brought up another good comment and something that I used to battle with a little bit. He says, what about the referral guy that looks at the car, your customer only wanted a one step, but the referral guy sees the swirls and thinks it was a bad job? What about your reputation? So I'm assuming what he's talking about is you detail a car, and then that customer goes to the next detailer down the road, sees the car's all hacked up or whatever, and that next detailer thinks the original detailing company did a bad job when really it was the customer's budget. My personal opinion is you never know what the agreement between the customer and the detailer made, and that's where ego sneaks back in, right? What are your thoughts on that, Kevin?
Oh, right. Absolutely. I mean, first of all, that's the guy trying to show off and try to make a sale again at the expense of the previous detailer. I mean, like, if you're a professional and you're not trying to do that, which I don't think you should use leverage unless the guy clearly hacked the vehicle up. You know, I mean, there's a burn mark going across the hood or whatever it happens to be. But if it's just basic swirl marks, then that's where you say, hey, I can show you this, and then you have the same conversation, because you don't need to talk down about the previous detailer to have that same conversation that you just talked about, which is, do you see this, and what are your expectations, and this is how much it's going to cost, and this is how we get there. Because then once you say it's going to be $500, and he'll say, well, my last guy charges me $100. Well, this is why. This is what it looks like. Right. In order to get that. And it may be fine. It may not be fine. It just depends on their expectations again. Yeah.
Paul says talking bad about another detailer is not very professional. Just stating what you can do for them is much better option. That's what happened. I did a Facebook Live video probably like a month ago. I put over on my YouTube channel doing a Maserati, an older Maserati that had swirl marks. And this guy had it detailed at another shop, and they just put swirl marks in it, and it was legit swirl marks, not spider webbing, right? And because even though detailers know the difference, they still use those terms interchangeably. Drives me nuts, but whatever. And yeah, I could have been like, oh my gosh, those guys are, so retarded. They don't know what they're doing. And instead I was like, hey, who cares? Let's just solve it. You have an issue. You want me to solve it? Let's just get it done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about your last, detailer that induced all this.
Well, because ultimately one of the rules in marketing is that you can use other products and services as examples, but the last thing you want to do is have them thinking more about the last guy than they're thinking about you, whether positively or negatively, because then they start getting reminded that maybe he was cheaper than you, or maybe he sucked, and now they're just pissed, and they now form an opinion about all detailers based on that experience too. So
Exactly. How long have we been going here, Kevin?
I have no idea.
I have no clock on my end. There we go. Almost 40 minutes. Is there anything
40 minutes, wow.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I feel like
anybody have any more questions? Yeah, we did ramble. We always ramble, but anybody else have any questions that, is now a good time just to take a few questions?
I would say let's just open it wide open. And if anyone has questions or has any feedback about the things we just talked about, Chris just keeps telling us how sexy we are. Thank you, Chris. See, there's Chris again. Really impressed. Chris, you are our biggest fan today. You win the award for biggest fan. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send you a 6th detailer's helper.
Yeah.
And an invoice.
Will the coding war ever end? Are we going to talk about coatings?
No, we're not talking about coatings.
What do you think about $2
Oh boy!
coatings. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You talk about coatings.
I just think it's like just another excuse for guys to talk about how much better they are than anyone else, and it's like, My biggest gripe with coatings has come down to the detailer overselling it. Just don't oversell it. I think coatings could be a great product. Listen, there's only so many chemicals that can make up a coating, right? So all of them can't be that different. Okay, I get it. They could be different, but they can't be that different. Do you have an opposing view on that statement, Kevin?
I don't. I'm Switzerland. No.
So I'll step out to get my neck chopped off. I don't think that any one particular coating can be all that different than the next. Okay. I think what the problem is that detailers are overselling them, saying, whatever. Like the biggest thing for a consumer is the scratch resistance. And whether the coating is scratch resistant or not, obviously depends on what you put it through, but I don't think that should be the main selling point of the coating. That's my gripe. Right. Because you as the detailer don't know what that customer is going to do to the car. You don't know if they're going to be in a pinch. That one time they drove halfway across the country and the front of their car's full of bugs and it's bugging them. Pun not intended. Nice. And then, they decide to just take it through the drive-through place once because, hey, they have a coating on their car anyway, and it's scratch resistant, right? It's like, and then it gets all jacked up. So I guess with coatings, my biggest gripe is that just don't there's plenty of characteristics and properties about the coating that are beneficial to a consumer that have nothing to do with the scratch resistance. Because to my point earlier about that guy with the black Audi, he couldn't even see the stupid scratches in his car. Yeah. So sell on ease of cleaning and doesn't get as dirty as quickly and whatever. But it's like, can we just leave the scratch resistance out of it?
I mean, to that point, if they want to market it, they'll market it however they want to market it. I'm a marketing guy, obviously. My biggest concern is that we are using marketing language that is effective in the short term and detrimental in the long term. And that applies to so many things. You and I have talked about this before, maybe even on one of our podcasts, but I feel like at some point we're going to get into the undercoating products of the 70s with cars, and I wasn't driving back then, by the way, shut up. But yeah, dealers used to sell this magic undercoating that would protect the cars from rust and all this other stuff. Basically, it's just rubberized undercoating that you can buy at, AutoZone or whatever. But they promised that your car would never rust. And so, if you've ever seen one of the iron tanks from the Rust Belt you wouldn't see it on the road anymore. You see them in a magazine or something like that. But they're absolutely destroyed. Like there's nothing left, undercoating or not. And I worry that that's where, and tons of products do that, but that's what I worry about, some of the claims being out there that might cause consumers to even if they're not out and out saying it, consumers may interpret it as more beneficial than even what the detailer is trying to sell it as.
And I guess my other gripe would be guys tying in their business into one particular brand of coating.
Or one particular brand of anything.
Of anything, right? Because I just think that it leaves you way too vulnerable. And you're totally right, of anything, because honestly, none of us as detailers have control over what company XYZ does with their brand, right? So we're tying our brand into this other brand that we have no control over. And what if they do something like totally crazy and unethical, and then you got their brand all over, tied in with your brand? It could just... I see. Those are probably my two biggest gripes.
Worth of marketing collateral. I actually did a video on this called Stop Co-Branding Your Business. And, we see it all the time. So it's basically making other companies' brands more important than your brand. And being tied into specific people. But I think, do we have any more questions?
Randy wanted to know, he said marketing. I just released an episode on Monday with Paul Frasco, who had some really cool like marketing piece ideas, was stuff that he would leave behind in the cars after he detailed them that were really, really not costly at all. So I would suggest that, Randy, if you're still on, that you go back and listen to that one. Floor mats that are branded, water bottles, stuff like that. I feel like this is going to be funny, Chris. One thing that disturbs me the most is when I see or read about my product and they overhype it, not good for the brand or its reputation. That actually wasn't funny, Chris. That was very serious. Thank you for that.
No, yeah.
But
solution finish cruise can't.
Yeah, but look at that from a guy who owns a product company. He doesn't even want his product overhyped. And let me tell you what, I was pumping Chris's product one time at a car show, and that stuff sells like hotcakes when you do a demo to people, and he doesn't even want it overhyped because it does reflect badly on the brand too, which goes into a whole nother topic of why coating companies would want to do that. But I think you said it best, that they're playing for the short-term gain. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Jason asked about PPF. I don't know enough about PPF to even. I barely know what it stands for. We should do a hairstyle video. I mean, we should do a video on like how we get ready in the morning.
Yeah, I basically have a team of small mice. Right. That comes into my bedroom like Cinderella. It's pretty much exactly like that.
Yeah. Step into your glass slippers, and then as soon as you don't even get out of bed, you just sit at the edge of your bed and let your team.
Yeah. The little bluebirds come in and pull the covers back, and then the whole thing starts. It takes about an hour and a half, but it's okay.
We're going downhill.
Yeah, we are. So, any other?
Did you just flex? I missed it live and saw it on my phone. Did you just flex?
No, I didn't. No, I did not flex. What do you mean? This is my office over here. Yeah.
It looked like you just flexed.
No, I did not. I did not just.
Kevin, what's over your left shoulder? Nothing.
What? Over my left? This? Is this what you were talking about?
Yeah, what is that, Kevin?
This is this will I'll do a video, or I'll do an announcement.
Wow. Is this a world
today?
Exclusive?
We actually world exclusive for this live broadcast. So this is my micro polisher add-on bag for Detailer's Helper. So due to copyright and brand trademarks and registered trademarks and all that, so we're calling it that, but it does perfectly fit the Rupus Nano. They have not endorsed the product, so let me make that very clear. But yeah, we got that out on the site. So if you guys are using those smaller polishers, or you just need something that's an in-between size bag for tools or whatever, it's perfect for that. So
does Marty already have one?
At some point. Marty was one of my testers. So right. Marty got, well, he lives locally, so I didn't have to ship it to him. Yeah. He has one of the original prototypes I sewed. When I prototype these things, I actually sew them myself. Wow. So believe it or not, the mice do it. I'm lying.
Oh,
but
the bluebirds.
Yeah, the bluebirds and the mice do it. So yeah. So anyway, we'll put that. I'll have that out on my Detailer's Helper thing and share it around a little bit. So if you're interested in those, what's going on with the auto detailing podcast?
So the auto detailing podcast, I actually have some super exciting stuff in the works that is like 50-50 if it'll work out or not. So I don't want to talk about it just in case it doesn't work out, but interviewing some bigger names kind of outside of the detailing space, which I'm a little conflicted about, bringing it to the detailing podcast, because I'm not totally convinced that that's what people want to hear when they look for a detailing podcast, is stuff that's maybe not like the Chip Foose episode was great, but it wasn't really detail centered. So I'm getting a few opportunities to talk with car guys, but it's not detailing centered. So I'm a little conflicted with what to do with that. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with that. It may be starting a second podcast. I'm just not really sure. But I, for some reason, feel like this year, 2017, is going to be a big year for the podcast. So I'm finally getting the exposure that I initially set out for. So, but nothing as of yet I guess Chip Foose was like,
that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that I was pretty stoked for that, and especially to sit down and do a face-to-face with him. So,
he's a genuinely cool guy. But
dude, he's so cool. And then it was funny because I left his shop and I had parked my car like way down the street. So I like walked to my car, sat in my car, made a couple phone calls, walked back, and like there's Chip just walking down the street like a normal dude, like going to his other shop down the street, and I'm just like, yeah, this is so crazy. So, but the podcast is, I really, really want to do more video. And so, David says detailers are car nerds. We don't always want to talk shop, but, and maybe I'll go to the audience for this, but cause I have I'll give you an example. So I was in contact with this PR company yesterday, right? A PR company on behalf of a very well-known car company. Okay. And they're looking for media or press for a C-level exec of that company, right? And it's like, cool, at South by Southwest, right, in Texas. And it's like, great, I would love to interview him. It'd be huge for me personally, right? But it's not detailing related. So do I bring that onto the auto detailing podcast, or what do I do with that? And maybe we could just even brainstorm right now, Kevin. It's like, say the CEO of Kia, well, that's kind of lame, but say like the CEO of Chevy, right, wanted to, a PR company was trying to get him press, and so they were coming out with this new model, and they wanted to talk about the technology in the car. Is that weird to bring it on? Is that weird though?
You can turn that back to are there any new material? What do we need to do? Talk to him about his business, the car, and all that stuff. And it's always easy to tie it either back to business or back to detailing. Like when the Priuses came out, which is like the worst car in the world, they have this soy-based interior, right? That is like, or they did at one time, it's weird when you try to clean it. So there might be something there, and you can prepare the PR person for that ahead of time to say, hey, I'm going to ask these questions. Okay. So make sure he knows the answers. And so, but I mean, I think most of the people that are listening to your stuff are either detailers in business or, people that are interested in being in business at some time. And so any, other, makes sense. We can, this thing Michelle's going to be doing with Bogey from All Girls Garage, Phoenix, that would be an interesting thing. It's an all-female build for SEMA. Mm-hmm. So that might be something that your audience would be interested in seeing, especially because, women are underrepresented.
Right. Yeah, that's
hungry.
I'm actually glad I brought this up and that we're talking about it, and kind of just getting the instant feedback from these guys of like, why not just talk about it on the show? Because I really don't like the idea of starting another podcast. I really like the idea of bringing it into the auto detailing podcast.
No one likes that idea.
It doesn't sound like it. It's amazing. Everyone's like, no, that sucks. Like, that is horrible. Why would you ever do that? So there's actually, I just secured, and I don't know if I'll probably end up using this for a podcast and try to wiggle it down, but I just lined up, I'm hesitant to say it, but I just lined up to have, are you still with me or did you freeze? There you go.
I'm here. I'm being really still.
On the 18th of this next month, it would be March 18th, I'm going to meet up with Matt Farah and do a podcast with him live in person. So that's cool. And again, nice. That's teetering on that line too of like, for one, I'm worried because I can't talk cars like he could talk cars, right? So I got to keep it away from like engine compartment, You
want like one of those pieces, and I'll talk to you like a producer in the background. I can.
Yes. Be like, Kevin, he said 427-68B. What the hell is that? Because he could. That's his realm, right? Yeah. So I'm like, dude, I'm worried but that's a good example of like, okay, how am I is that an auto detailing podcast episode? Like, are people interested in that? And from the instant feedback we've been getting right now, it sounds like they would be. But things like that, I'm hoping for 2017, more opportunities like that. A little bit more, bit outside of. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah. I mean, it's all related. People want to hear about business and personalities and cars, especially. I mean, you've got auto in your podcast. We deal with cars all the time. It's perfectly reasonable. I think any business person would be reasonable. I mean, you're not going to do a cooking episode, but I think that, I think you're saying.
No, and it's all going to be. What's that?
Ray as a guest, unless she has cool cars.
You never know. So, but yeah, I guess what I would like to do is like just level up a little bit and to like go one realm outside of detailing. Not that there's anything wrong with the detailing space, and I'm actually really excited about some of the interviews I already have recorded that are coming. But just kind of start incorporating guys that are one realm outside of the detailing space. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've talked about even my own, the Detailer's Helper stuff. I kind of ran out of topics. So, every once in a while I have one that comes in and all that, but there's only, so many different.
I just don't want to be boring. I don't want it to be a boring show. And I also don't want to regurgitate what other people are already talking about. I don't want to be like, oh, I saw so-and-so put out a video on this. Let me just do a podcast episode on that, And that's one thing that I've always kind of prided myself on is, even though there's that quote of like, what is it? Good people create, great people steal, or whatever. And it's like, I hear that, but I've always kind of like, puffed up my own ego a little bit, knowing that I never go onto YouTube and search detailing topics and then do a podcast episode on them. Everything is like, I just thought of it, Yeah.
So. Yeah, for sure. And I may be regurgitating, but not intentionally, right?
Not intentionally.
That's the secret. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like that. But yeah, podcast. And detailershelper.com. And so, yeah.
You cut out a little bit. So it was autodetailingpodcast.com and detailershelper.com.
That's right. A little bit of a plug for both of us, but
cool.
Yeah, detailing seasons coming up are not currently in your business. Time to get it going. I don't know why I'm shaking the thing, but
you're just playing with your doggle.
Yeah.
That's all live, baby. Playing with his doggle.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, I'm assuming that's probably. So, do you guys want us to do this again? I think it was fun. Jimbo and I always have a good time. Most of we have so much off-camera stuff that we should just start recording as soon as we start. That's
usually the good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
See ya. Maybe.